So the topic I'm going to speak on today is a little touchy to some people because a lot of people don't really like to believe it. Less than a year ago, I didn't really believe in it. And until I had many experiences that convinced me otherwise, I didn't believe in entities. People used to say, oh, you should watch out for entities, protect yourself from entities. Oh, that person could be possessed by an entity. I've even had practitioners like Reiki or whatever tell me, oh, you have attracted entities to you, and I helped you remove them. And I'm like, I was like, okay, I kind of believed in them, but not really. And then I had an experience working with a client, and I had them under hypnosis, and there was a lot of stuff that was coming out that just didn't make a lot of sense. And it actually brought up a lot of fears and things inside of me. And I was like, what is this all about? And so I talked with a bunch of other practitioners, and they're like, oh, that's for sure an entity, and entity. And all of them were saying entity. And I'm like, okay. So I started doing more research on entities, and I was like, wow, that really did sound like an entity. And so the very next week I had another client come in, and she was telling me of some symptoms she was having. And she says, I just don't feel like myself. I feel like something's trying to take me over. I don't have my control of my own thoughts. And I'm like, oh crap, all this stuff I just researched on last week, this sounds like an entity. And that was like the main thing she was basically coming to me for, I guess, if you will. I mean, she was coming for another reason, but like that was the thing that was in my face. And sure enough, I get her on hypnosis, and she's speaking like, I don't even know how to explain. The event is like so hard to explain in my mind. Afterwards, I was like, WTF just happened. I just kept saying that in my head. I felt like it was a full-on exorcism. She was speaking like another voice was coming through her. It was like, you know how women talks, woman's voice. But it was like, no, you can't speak to her subconscious. It was like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the frick, And some of this, I was like, is this made up? All this kind of stuff. But like all the things that I was seeing, I was like, okay. And then it was funny because at one point, she opened her eyes and looked at me, and I was like, whoa. I was like, it was like, I don't know, someone giving you a dirty look kind of thing. But then I saw her later on, and she was fine, like totally different, like you could see in her eyes. And after that experience, I was so convinced about entities. And since then, I've learned a lot about removing entities and signs of entities, and didn't realize it's just kind of a common thing. And I don't want you to get scared off, like, oh my gosh, do I have an entity? Am I possessed? And is it a demon? And all that kind of stuff. And, I don't want people getting freaked out, like, oh my gosh, I have an entity, it must go. It is, if you do have one, it is something that you want gone. And it's kind of like, I don't know, a lot of you probably, if you're on a healing journey, you've probably become aware of like parasites in your body. That was me. I was like, oh no, we aren't a third world country. We don't have parasites. That's kind of what in America, they don't, like the doctors don't believe in parasites and all that kind of, oh no, you don't have parasites, blah, blah, blah. And it's like only animals have them, horses have them, and third world countries. And what I'm like, so once I discovered it, is like, okay, parasites are a thing, and then people are doing parasites cleanses to get them out of them. And it's kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, I had parasites. Why did I have parasites? That's gross. And there's just a weakness in your body that attracted those parasites to you, because anybody can get a parasite, but if your body's strong enough, just kind of like when you get a cold or a flu, it fights it off and it gets rid of it. But with parasites, if your body's weakened, it's a lot harder for you to fight off the parasites. And you can look at an entity like a parasite too. So it's like you have some sort of a weakness in, let's call your aura or whatever it is. And usually it's an emotion, a fear or a phobia. That's the biggest thing, is I think that they're attracted to fear. And so they find that weak point and they attach to you. And some of them are just there. Some of them have a purpose, if you will. I've read several books. I've had teachers teach me different things about entities. And bottom line is, you don't want them there. Like, if you have a parasite in your body, do you want it there? No. Oh, but it's a good one. No, it's not. You don't want them there. And sometimes we call them to us, especially at weak points. And this could be a thing for kids too. especially when they're in a weakness. They have maybe a traumatic thing happen to them or something, and they have a weak spot. Let's just say it's like in an aura. I don't know the exact technology or whatever it is about it. So let's just say they have something traumatic to happen to them, and there's a hole. And an entity can come and attach, and that entity may feel like it's helping, because through many of my clients, I will talk to some of these entities through hypnosis, and they say, well, I'm here to help them do this, and a lot of times you can see it as a friend, okay? And sometimes some of these people actually have a hard time letting go of these entities because they are like a friend to them. And I'm one of them that can admit that, okay? I have had entities on me, and I still get them on me. And yeah, it can be hard to let them go, because the first time I really noticed a huge difference is I went to a training, and the teacher removed an entity off of me. And I was very, very tired. I slept for like 12 hours the next day and stuff. And then I was talking to him the next day, and he said this is very normal. There was almost like a mourning, because that entity had been with me for so long. It was almost like I depended on it, or it became a friend. I didn't even realize it was there, but somehow my unconscious mind knew it was there. So, but it wasn't helping me in any way. It has its own agenda, even though it might be on your side. I don't want to compare it to maybe your parents or something, but it's like your parents or your friends, they're giving you advice. They're like, they think they have their best interests. They have their own way that they think you should solve a situation. And that's kind of what some of these entities will do. They're like, they may be there to try to help you and guide you, but ultimately they could be hindering you because they think that this is the best way, but truly it's not, and you really should be doing this. So that's why it's best to kind of let them go. Now you can have malevolent ones, and those will kind of have their own agenda in mind. That first one that I did the entity removal on, it had its own agenda in mind. And sometimes they can be ghosts, if you will. There's so many levels of it. I don't want to get too deep into it, but there's so many different levels of it, and their bottom line is you don't want them. But you have ones that could be just simple spirits that have passed away here on Earth, or they could be from other realms, other realities, other dimensions, other planets, different things like that, and somehow you've called them to you. But they could be just like, you think, oh, well, a place is haunted, and it's not necessarily that ghost is going to attach to you. So I've dealt with some people that have had past loved ones attached to them, but they feel a comfort and they still want the loved one there. And I can't really help in that case because they want them there. And if they want them there, they're not going to leave. So let's just say mother, father, grandmother, whatever. So, but there may be some times where, let's just say, I don't know, let's just say there was somebody that died and they were really interested in baseball, and you're really interested in baseball. And let's say that you just had a weak point or something in your life, and this baseball player attached to you, and they find something really interesting in you and they think it's fun or whatever. Or they could be completely different from you. All of a sudden you have a interest in painting and you never did before, and you're like, why am I all of a sudden interested in painting? It could be a good thing, but just like a weird obsession, okay? I can't think of any other examples, like a weird obsession with some food that you never liked before or something like that. And that could possibly be an entity, and that was something of theirs and living it out through you. It goes along the lines of spirits, drinking, alcohol. That is a huge place where people, when you are under the influence of drugs or alcohol, your aura is very weakened and you can draw spirits. They say, I don't know who they is really, but a lot of the books and everything that I've read and everything, they say that those spirits, those entities, whatever you want to call them, like to hang out at Mars because they're looking for an opportunity to have a body. These, a lot of times, the ones that really what I have to do with removing them is have them go to the other side, go to the light. That's very simple. Some of them don't realize they're dead. It's like they do, but they don't at the same time. And when I remove them, I have to make them become aware of that. And but like I said, sometimes that's when alcoholics become more of an alcoholic. Maybe you weren't alcoholic, but all of a sudden you are, or something, and it could be one attached to you, and in their life they were an alcoholic and they're still wanting to feel that feeling, so they're living it out through you. I know it's gross. It's like a parasite. Like I said, it's a lot like a parasite. But you know, like I said, I could go on and on. I have books and books and books of stuff, and my teachers have taught me lots of stuff. But bottom line is, you don't want them attached to you. They're hindering you in some way. And again, don't freak out if there are any attached to you. And now you're probably like, oh shit, do I have one? Sorry, I didn't. Do I have one attached to me? Well, if you do, it's okay, because it's probably been there and you didn't realize it all this time. So today's no different than it was yesterday. So don't freak out about that. I can remove them, and I have a much easier way now. Before, I had to put somebody under hypnosis and talk to them and all this stuff. But I have so many easy to remove tools now that it makes the process so easy. And going back to entities and like the history of it, you know, it's like, I don't know why people don't believe in them much today. Now, there's other cultures and religions that probably still do. But here in America, they really don't. And like the Catholic Church. I was raised Catholic, and you know, many of you probably remember the movie Poltergeist, and you know, the priests would come in and he'd exorcise them and remove the demon out of them, and you know, that was things that were kind of made fun of, if you will, but they were real things, and priests were trained in that. But nowadays, priests are not taught that. It's almost like, oh, they don't exist anymore. It's like they kind of sweep it under the rug. I don't know why. It's like they don't want people to think that these things exist anymore. And again, like I said, most of them are not demons. I've never come across one that's a demon. You know, there may be ones that are troublemakers, if you will. You know, they had a troublesome life, and so they're causing trouble in you, or they're just going against what you want. But a demon, no, I've never come across one. And you know, I have the one that taught me. Now, I can't claim that he's never come across a demon, but I want to say he said he never has. It's just malevolent ones, and but he does them all the time. In fact, where he lives, he says that the Catholic churches there don't even, they basically send all of their parishioners or whatever to him anytime that they have an entity attached to them. And so I think that there's a lot more light workers out there now that are starting to become more aware of this and starting to learn how to do this. So it's actually a very easy thing. And this is something that freaked the heck out of me, because I did not want to believe it. Freaked me out when a client had it, and then it was like, now after that I was like, is another one going to come? Is it going to attach to me? Ghosts have always liked me. Any place I've gone that's haunted, I feel horrible after going there, and I feel like some of their energy's on me, and I'm like, oh, how do I get it off? And I've talked to people and they try to get it off, and it's just been horrible. But now I know what to do in these instances, and it actually has become a good thing, if you will, because not only am I helping the people, the 3D people that have these entities attached to them, I'm helping the entity. Because let's say that it was even a child or something that died, and they're lost, and they're just living through somebody's body, and they don't even realize they're lost, and then I just send them off to the light. Now that piece of their soul is making them more whole. You know, if I was a ghost in another life, or a part of me is left in another life or something like that, I want that piece of me to be attached to me. I don't want to have a part of me gone. So I'm helping that soul to move on to the light. So it makes me feel good to help not only the person, but also the soul that is attached. So what do you do about it? How do you check for it? I can help you if you want. A simple thing you can do is just, you can use like a pendulum or something and check and see. Or if you just like some symptoms, if you will, are kind of like I was saying a little bit at the beginning, just not feeling like yourself, having interests or thoughts that don't feel like your own. I had one recently. I went on vacation and I was having these weird obsessive thoughts, and I'm like, what are these thoughts? And then I finally, after a couple days, I was like, duh. Another one was nausea, and I had nausea too. And another thing, sometimes they like higher vibrational beings, because they can sense your energy more. And so I have found too that some of my more highly, I don't want to say highly evolved because that puts some other people down, but you know what I mean. Like if you just are more advanced in your meditating and your spirituality and sensing energy and different things like that, I feel like those people seem to attract them a lot easier than others. Now, there could be also people that aren't spiritually that way, and they may have more than one. They have several attached to them, and it could be dragging them down in their life and holding them back from moving forward. So it's really all over the place, but it's almost like my husband and I are like, oh shoot, okay, something's off, what is it? And then we'll check, oh, we have an entity, okay, and then we'll just remove it. And it's actually a very simple thing. And now it's becoming so simple, it's like, oh, you got a bug on your shoulder, here, let me help you get it off. And it used to freak the hell out of me, and now it's a normal thing. So you can check yourself if you want to, and just use a pendulum and ask something like, do I have an entity attached to me, or am I possessed, or something like that. And if it does, again, like I said, don't freak out. I'm not making this video to freak any of you out. I'm doing it because probably if you're watching this video, you might already suspect something like that. And I want more people to become aware of it. I don't want it one of those things that's kind of, you know, hidden, swept under the rug, like it feels like lots of cultures and religions are trying to do now. So as for removing it, you yourself can try to do it just by willing it away. You know, you can go into a meditation, you can close your eyes, you can imagine like opening up like a, I don't know, a portal or something, and having it like the light, like source energy light, and asking it to go. Guide it to the light, whatever you want to do. I have a friend I've met through some of my training, and he has a meditation that he does. I'll put a link to it below if you'd like to try to do his meditation. I think he talks a little bit at the beginning of his video too about entities, and then he has a little meditation you can do. Or you can contact me or my husband. This used to be, see, it's even like making my heart beat a little bit. It still was something that kind of scares me. I recently went to, it's getting close to Halloween here, and I went to an event, and it was supposed to, the town that I live in is very haunted, and so they were doing an event where they were doing like, I don't know, the house, it was at a house that was haunted. Thankfully I was outside. They were doing like a whole seance and all this kind of stuff. So the theme was kind of like people were coming here because they believe in ghosts. So I was advertising that I was doing entity removal. I had a lot of people kind of like, oh, you know, and they would joke like, oh, you're probably possessed, because I listed like the symptoms and different things like that. There was one boy, it was very interesting. There was one boy that kept coming over and just looking at the sign. He was, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 years old. He kept coming over the sign, and finally when he came over, I said, would you like me to check you for entity? And I was like, it's free, I'll just check you, you know. And he said, well, sure. And so I checked him, and I was like, no, you're fine. And then his sister was there, and I said, you want me to check you? And she's kind of like this. And I checked, and she did. And I said, it's nothing to worry about. And it's funny because I'm getting to know right away. Like I looked at her and I'm like, oh, I could tell that she was. And the pendulum said. And I just did a real quick, I mean, it was super quick, and I removed it from her. And I'm curious, like if the boy was coming over because it's almost like his higher self was saying, your sister needs this removed. And, you know, and I always, whenever I do these, I see some of these people and I never see them again. And then I'm like, gosh, I'd love to know how they're doing. Are they different from it? And I've worked on several children, and children, when I remove it, some of their problems just go away. And it could be causing an issue. So it is something to kind of consider and look into, you know, if you are kind of stuck and you're like, I just don't feel like I can get past this one thing, or I've gotten rid of it and it seems to come back. Because if you have an entity, sometimes they will leave. And let's just say, you know, you've been healing yourself and you're like, man, I feel great now. And then all of a sudden, bam, you hit a low point and then something happens again. That entity, now don't always blame everything on entities, because I've seen some people like, oh, something's wrong. It must be an entity. It must be an entity. No, sometimes it's just you too. But it could be that entity coming back, and that entity is stirring up something in you again. And once that entity goes to the light, then it won't come back. But there's also something that I've noticed too, is just because you are clear of an entity and that specific one has gone to the light doesn't mean another one can't come back. And what I've learned is, okay, if one comes back, I immediately say, what's my weakness? So same with going back to parasites. Something in your gut or in your body is weak, so the parasites are there and attracted to it. Yeah, you could do a parasite cleanse, and what? They come back, right? Do it again, they come back. You need to heal yourself, they won't come back. Same thing with the entities, you know, and it's not the same parasite that's coming back, it's a different parasite because that one already died, so another one comes in. So same thing with the entities. So if you have one come to you, and it's left and gone to the light, another one could come back if there's something that hasn't healed inside of you, whatever weakness is that they find. And a lot of times it's rooted in fear, maybe even anger, or like I said, if you are doing any kind of substances. That's another thing too that I hear a lot is from some of my practitioner friends, is when people do even psychedelics. So even just, no, not just alcohol and drugs, but even like ayahuasca. That's a big one, that a lot of people afterwards, you know, some people feel great afterwards, but you are just ripping your chakras wide open, that it's inviting them in. And sometimes some stuff comes up and you find a weak point, and they're like right inside you, like, whoa, it's like you're just an open channel and saying, here, I'm at a weak point right now, and they go right in. So if you have done something like ayahuasca or bufo or something, that could really open you up, and be aware of that. So, you know, like I said, ways you can get rid of it, you can go online and you can find meditations to help. You can try to will it out yourself. Find a practitioner. I can help you. I'll put all kinds of details below in the comments if any of you are concerned about it. And read up on it. Look on the internet and look up more things too if you'd like to know more about it. And I just want to help you guys, because I've noticed that this is a huge block for me and for so many other people. And I think more people need to become aware of it, because let's say you get educated on it, and then you can help inform somebody else, and that could really help save a lot of people that are really stuck, because that could be as simply all they needed to do was to let go of some entity. And I'm sorry if the word entity freaks any of you out. Don't. It's just a spirit. It's an energy, whatever you want to call it. So don't freak out about it. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions or experiences. That's pretty much it. Thank you.